you're a UU, because not only am I a UU, Jewish UU, by the way, but I'm, when we, the UN Decade of Education for Sustainable Development, we got accepted through our interfaith sector team of the US partnership to present what was going on. You don't have to record this part. Oh, you're recording. Okay. Anyway, so the UUs, we had a poster of all the different religions in the US who were working on sustainable development, and the UUs were like a really big part of the poster. And that was before I was a UU. So thank you on all those levels.
You're most welcome.
All right.
And let me figure out how to make you a host.
Or yeah, share the screen by going with the little arrow right next to it. So, hey, Emily, I didn't say hi. I didn't realize it was you. I think we're ready to roll. Hey, can you talk yet? Frank, did you do that Facebook thing on climate change? Was that you?
Nope, that wasn't me.
Did you see it?
Which Facebook thing?
So there's this Facebook thing. Facebook has done this thing now where it pops up and says, want to learn about climate change, and you click on it. It's got all this great stuff on climate change, including a bunch of stuff from NOAA. So
yeah, I saw that was done, but that was not us.
Well,
we're number 2. NASA's number 1, which gives us a motivation to improve our work.
well,
That's the way we look at it.
that was great stuff, and a bunch of stuff from the federal agency. Okay, you guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So let me share my screen, and let me get into the, let me get into the PowerPoint. So here you go, guys. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm going to talk about this topic, right? But what you might want to do is write down my email, okay? Just my name at aya.yale.edu. That's where I went to undergrad, and so I'm using that email. And here we go. So I've got a bunch of free resources for you today, and it doesn't matter who it comes from. There's just a bunch of networks that we work with or we've created. And I'll be speaking about them as we go along, okay? So very quickly, the first one, the Higher Education Association Sustainability Consortium, is made up of, it's US based, but we have a lot of international connections, and it's higher education professional associations for presidents, provosts, chief academic officers, business officers, facilities directors, student affairs, housing, environmental health and safety, college and university planning, and I've missed a few. And ASHE, of course, the Society to Advance Sustainability in Higher Ed. The second network that we have a bunch of resources for is the Disciplinary Associations Network for Sustainability. You can Google in any of these, and I will get you these slides to Mark, and he'll get them out, I would think. This is made up of over 45 academic societies. You want to change what people are teaching, go to where they go, their professional associations. So it's the Society for Engineering Education, for psychologists, sociologists, chemists, physicists, English teachers, math, etc. 45 of them. And both of those organizations are 15 years old. They've got amazing resources. I'll talk about just some of them today. Then the US partnership, the third one, for Education for Sustainable Development. Oh, I spelled my own organization wrong. It's Sustainable Development. And it is a nonprofit, and it was put together to help create the US response to the UN Decade of Education for Sustainable Development, but mostly to convene mainstream leaders, catalyze their sustainable development awareness, and get them started on initiatives, and then give them all the credit for it so that we see the systems changing and the norms changing in society. So that's a very short version. But most importantly today is I have resources for you from the world's climate engaged youth. So let's get started. So this is the list. I'll get this to you. It has the links. But what I'm going to do right now is get out of this, and I'm going to go right to the website so that you can see what I'm talking about. I think the most important thing, given the introductions I heard today, is to tell you about Change the Chamber. So Change the Chamber is an international youth coalition. It's made up of lots of different organizations, over 100. They are from all over the world, every continent. You can look through them. Some of these, it's just one name, but it represents multiple countries, like SOS, Students Organizing for Sustainability. We're in Pakistan, we're in lots of countries in Africa, we're in Europe, we're across the US. And when I say we, I'm gonna say we, but it's really not me. It's these organizations, and it's this core team of students, and the students are from, oh, come on. All right, so it's just going really slow. I'm gonna close some things so that we don't have that problem. And I'll just tell you that it's students from all over the country and other countries. This one went to Columbia and Smith and Michigan State University and University of Missouri and Mississippi and Tulane and Fairfield. And you see it's mostly women. This one's at University of Michigan. This one's at UC Berkeley. This one just graduated from University of Minnesota. She's from China. We've got one from Hong Kong. We've got, anyway, it goes on and on. Okay, so here's what they're doing. They analyzed, because it's their future we're screwing up, and they analyzed what it is that we need to change to get the policies we need to fix the climate problem. Look, we already have the technology. I'm this professor of renewable energies. We already have cost-effective renewable energies and energy efficiency that can get us to the 50% reduction in greenhouse gases by the end of this decade. We've already got it. What's standing in the way is that we don't have any decent science-based climate legislation that really says we need a market mechanism. Our economy right now is structured, as you know, for a fossil fuel economy. And it's outdated, and we give way more subsidies to fossil fuels. And we have these laws that hold back the implementation of renewables and efficiency that are just stupid and outdated, but they're still there because of the fossil fuel lobby. And the fossil fuel lobby has taken control of the US Chamber of Commerce. The US Chamber of Commerce says that it cares about climate change, although it didn't say that until just this last summer. Before this last summer, the US Chamber of Commerce said that a 3-degree rise would be good for the climate and the planet. That's how off they are. So then they come out and they say, we represent businesses in America. We're the voice of business, but who they really are is a keynote of the Fossil Fuel Industry Network in DC. And if you talk to legislators who have to pass a climate bill so that we can finally do some kind of regulation of greenhouse gases beyond this minor stuff that we've been doing or the stuff that Obama did that got rolled back, when you talk to them, what they say is that the US Chamber of Commerce is the key obstructor of getting this done. So the students know all of this. They have extensive information on the Chamber's lobbying. You can click on each one of these, the litigation, spread misinformation. And so they have gotten together this campaign. And what they're doing is they're targeting the companies who belong to the Chamber. Here's a list of some of them, not all of them, but this is the initial target list on their Take Action page. And what they're doing is social media. So if you go to their Lobby for Climate Twitter, or just look in the hashtag Lobby for Climate or change US Chamber, or look at their Facebook or Instagram, you will see they're incredibly creative. And it's all the facts. You know, there are organizations like Open Secrets and Influence Map that tells you what the Chamber is spending. Their own website of the Chamber shows how they wrote the report that Trump used to get out of the Paris Agreement and roll back the Clean Power Plan. So we've got to change the Chamber or disempower their voice. And that's what the students are doing. Why am I telling you all of this? Because wherever, and I heard all of your introductions, all of you can share this page, changethechamber.org, take action, and ask people to take action. Let me tell you what has happened. What has happened has been amazing. In a month and a half, these students I want to see your faces as I tell you this. In a month and a half, these students have reached over 58 million people on social media. They have targeted 2 companies a month. So far they've targeted JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Pepsi, Coke, Yum Brands, which is like Taco Bell and Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Disney. We have already started conversations with over half of those companies who reached out to the youth and said, we want to talk to you. Because the youth are saying things like, we don't want to work for you. We don't want to buy your stuff. We don't want to invest in you. Because member companies of the chamber, you say you care about climate change. You've got these great internal sustainability programs. Well, some are great, but you're funding the chamber and the chamber is doing this stuff. So we're going to go after you in social media and say, stop being hypocrites, change the chamber or quit the chamber and make your own statements that the chamber doesn't represent you. Now, some of these companies did that in 2009, just a few, but the chamber plodded along. And so now we need it to be firmer because it looks like we have a shot at passing a comprehensive climate bill. And you know what the US does makes a difference in the rest of the world. You know that if we create that market mechanism, it'll drive how businesses act. So I can't tell you all the details of all the companies, but if you have questions, I'd be glad to answer. But today we have a call with Coke. We've already had calls with Pepsi. We've already had calls with Morgan Stanley, other companies that are really getting up the gumption to go to the chamber and say, stop being the voice of the fossil fuel industry. The other reason why this is important is that once that bill does get passed, and like I say, we've got a real shot at passing carbon pricing or some kind of comprehensive climate bill, the chamber will create pushback unless we've gotten them out of the fossil fuel lobbying stance, and it could undo whatever gets done. So it's really easy. You go to changethechamber.org, you can sign up. Go to changethechamber.org/take action and share it with your networks. And we'll send you a social media pack, or you can just search the hashtags and retweet, repost, share the posts. If we can get more logos, great, although we already have 100. We've got a bunch of organizations that are kind of in, nobody's funding us, it's all pro bono. So this is it, you guys. You want to get rid of the bottleneck. You want to get us back in the Paris Agreement. You want to get us to do the solutions. That's it. Okay, now let me tell you about something else. Any questions on that, though, before I continue? Okay, and how many of you have at least somebody that you can share this with or yourself that you can tweet or retweet? I want feedback. Talk to me.
So Deb, as you know, in the United States, given this is mostly United States focused, even though there's an international impact, the major youth focused organizations in the United States, I would encourage us to engage them. A lot
so
of
I have already. So I'm on the
network.
Strike With Us. Yeah, I'm on the Strike With Us campaign. I'm on the 350.org's leaders list. I'm working with lots of them.
I'm thinking about the ones that focus specifically on youth.
Yeah,
like the Alliance for Climate Education. All of the if you've got, here's what I'll do, Deborah. I'll go to the website. I'll see who's there. Anybody who's missing, yep. I'll let you know.
Oh, awesome, Frank. That would be just great. Yep.
Happy to help.
Emily said she already posted. Earl, you can do this through Interfaith Power and Light and through UU, can share it. In fact, it came out of a youth group at a UU meeting called YES, Youth for Energy Solutions, that we have out of our Brighton UU. And that's where the idea came out of for this thing. Anybody else? You got places to share it with?
Deborah?
Okay.
So I can definitely will share it with, first off, the team in Washington, D.C.
Great.
What we know with the middle school students is there's several dozen of them, and different students gravitate to different types of action.
Right.
Definitely some who love to fight and do policy and do that, and I think they would gravitate to this. Others do more like STEM-based action. Many of them are educators. Many of them want to go into science. There are different things, and we don't try to.
Jim, I've got resources for them too. I'm going to do that next. Yeah.
So it would be a subset of them that would be interested in doing.
That's great. And wouldn't it be great if we got a middle school student on the core team talking to Coke? I mean, you should see what happens to these executives when they realize that the youth are looking at them and saying, hey, you're messing our future on these calls. It's been very powerful. In fact, one of the companies, one of them cried. They were like, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. I'm trying to make change from within, but we need the pressure from without. We've gotten incredible feedback from all these organizations of this is right on target of what we need. You also should know I've already gone to the UN youth constituencies. They are on board with this. And they recognize that this is also impacting trade associations and companies on other continents. Okay.
Well, Debra, along that line, part of the way our program works with the schools and the students is the students need experience. They need empowerment to be able to learn how to be communicators, right? You have to get that experience. Right. How are you a public speaker? How can you talk on Zoom? How can you narrate a video, right? And that's a lot of what we do. And they're different, that they're learning to be great speakers and indeed pull on people's heartstrings.
Right. So the next one that we have is very complementary to that. It actually has a video, Jim, that you could use. It's called Beyond Doom and Gloom, Engaging Climate Solutions. And it's got the page for individuals. We got a lot of, so 3 of my disciplinary associations turned to me in DC about 5 years ago and said, Debbie, you'll be so proud of us. We're teaching about climate change now. I said, great, are you teaching the solutions? And it was the biologists, the engineers, the ecologists, and the psychologists. They said, no, we don't know the energy stuff. We don't know the science of that, of the solutions. And remember, there is no energy discipline in higher ed. There is no energy class in high school. So this has got to go through the other disciplines. I said, well, if we give you information, will you teach it? And they said, yes, please do. So we have a page here for the individuals. And then once you get to this page, you'll see it's got scripts on how they can talk to their elected representatives about renewables and efficiency. And it's got places that they can sign up to get more information on what's going on. Not only federally, but also at the state level, because in the US anyway, the states are where a lot of the policies are being made. So they can sign up and be educated instead of going into despair and frustration and depression, which a lot of students are going into. I know, because I get the phone calls. Instead, they can sign up for this information and be part of the process. So we piloted this in Michigan when we started 5 years ago. And the students went to the state legislators and they told the students different things than they were telling the solar groups or the environmental groups. And that information helped pass better energy and climate legislation. So, and it also gives them the skills of democracy, right? So getting them involved is really key. You can also click on, there's a page directly for educators. It's got PowerPoint slides. It's got questions to put on the tests. It's got more information. And also we've set up a policy partner network on campuses. We have a call this afternoon at 2. We've got 35 states involved. And this is where each campus has a point person who sends updates out to the broader community on how they can get involved. So that's that one. And you could become a policy partner too. So if you go to that first link that's on the slide, and then you just go ahead to click on the policy partners, and there's the link directly, great. Then we're glad to include you. We have monthly calls and you can learn more and really engage your community instead of wringing their hands or just going to protest, actually affecting the legislation that we need to shift the norms. Okay, the third thing I wanted to talk to you about, because these two kind of combine, is growing green jobs. This is a UN initiative, and we're creating a global guidance document, and I'm smiling because Isabel and IAU have already given input on it. Thank you so much. We don't have the workforce development that we need. And so I also noticed that, I can see your face. Was it Doohan? it says Vital, but you also said something about workforce development. Countries all over the world need to do green workforce.
Yeah, Eileen Doohan. Yeah, thanks, Deborah.
Yes, thanks. And so we put together a global guidance document. This is just the overall web page, but the global guidance document, I'd show it to you, but it's a mess. It's got edits all over it, that we'll be sending out to all the countries of the world to say, here's resources you can use to help prepare the green workforce that you need. And so anybody who wants to work on that or who has resources that they think would be helpful for that, let me know. So that's the third thing. And then this is just a really great website called Sustainability Improves Student Learning. It's in the same overarching website as the CERC collection that Clean is in. It's got a beginner's handbook for faculty on how to teach about sustainability. It's got, under the Empowering Students page, a list of what are the skills you need to go out and make change in society, and students can do self-assessments around that. It's got lots of different learning activities for math, and it's all the STEM societies. We got a multi-million-dollar grant that was 3 years to work with all the STEM disciplines. It's geared towards higher ed, but there's a lot there that would be useful to high school. The next one, number 6, is from the American Association of Community Colleges. And it is an initiative that has over 1,000 vetted resources in solar, wind, green building, energy efficiency, sustainable ag, land and fuels, clean tech, and sustainability education. What does it cover, those resources? Skills and competencies, career pathways, innovative partnerships, and more. I'm not going to list all the rest. It's also got toolkits. It's got a toolkit on how to be a convener in your community to create a climate action plan. It's got a toolkit on how to use the National Science Foundation funded resource centers. You know what? That's worth showing you guys, given who's on this call. So this is for Jim and for the others who are working on K-12 stuff. If you look at the Seed Center under toolkits, and if you can't find something, just let me know and I'll help you find it. You go to the second to the last toolkit. It's brand new. It's how do you integrate high job growth areas into the curricula. And if you look, national science, it shows how solar and wind and other green jobs are growing at a much faster rate than other jobs, and not just nationally. It's got these National Science Foundation funded centers. They give you professional development training for the teachers, and it's funded by NSF. They give you lists if you want to make a lab. They give you syllabi. They give you mentoring so that you can create your own solar programs, energy efficiency programs, home safety and home performance programs, green building programs, sustainable ag programs. So there's a lot there for you. All right, any questions? Because I'm just about to go to the last one. I think I'm on to the last one. Oh no, there's 2 more. So one, Isabel could do this next one. This is the Higher Ed Sustainability Initiative. This is an initiative that combines the networks for higher ed for sustainability with the United Nations agencies. They come together to talk about what is higher ed's role now in terms of education and action for sustainable development. What could it be that we're not doing yet? And then what are the needs of each of these UN agencies regarding higher ed? And then making those connections. You can get involved in 2 ways, through a network or as an institution, a separate institution or organization. But also we have fellows through our US partnership. They are pro bono, they're unpaid. Almost everything I'm talking about here today, I do unpaid because I get paid as a professor. So I don't have to chase soft money, which is nice. And we have these fellows, and the fellows work on these initiatives, this whole list plus more. So it's about a 3-hour-a-week commitment if you're interested in being a national or an international fellow of the US partnership. Let me know, and we can connect you into the rest of these. And the US partnership itself, I wasn't gonna spend much time on, but given who you are, I wanna show you one thing, which is, come on, puppy. There we go. If you look under resources, you will see that we have a faith and religion section of resources. So Reverend, you might want to look at that. And then we also have a K-12 section. And the K-12 section actually isn't run by me. It's run by Shelburne Farms, who's one of the key nonprofits in the country working on sustainability education. If you don't know about them, you should definitely check them out. But there's a listserv here. There's standards for sustainability education in K-12 that we put together. There's a list of organizations. There's learning activities, assessment tools, webinar archive. So definitely enjoy that. All the resources that I've shown to you today are free. So,
Debra, a question. Let's see, one on like the resources for workforce development and green jobs and so on. One of the things that we're always looking with is connect with the programs. We talk with many different programs, and maybe if you have some that fit this criteria I'm looking for, it would be very helpful on this. Especially like ones out here in California, which are quite advanced. There's a lot of programs going into the schools to teach about energy and workforce development and everything. But a lot of it is geared toward, this is things professionals do and you should know about them. And here's a quiz and maybe here's some money, you know, for the teacher and so on. But they're very weak on that middle school and high school students can actually be taking action now, that they can be involved, that they're sort of on the job training without it being like, you know, they're not working for a corporation, but I mean, they're actually doing things. Students gravitate to that. They want experience. They're getting literal workforce development experience. We're kind of trying to crack that, where like the utility companies that have to do it here in California are starting to see, oh, you mean that's possible? They come to us now for, you know, advice, but we're seeing the thing of involving students now. If you're 12 years old or 18 years old, you don't have to wait 10 years before you can actually do something, which is sort of the message a lot of the programs.
right. So I always think in terms of systems and how do you create larger impacts through systems change. So there's this thing called the ACT plan that a lot of students get in 7th or 8th grade. And it kind of tells them what they would be good at for a career. There isn't the stuff in there on the green economy and sustainability jobs that there should be. And ACT has started to pay attention to sustainability. So that would be great to get it in there. Definitely to get it into the career advisors and counselors, and there's national associations for that. And then I can talk, let's talk offline at another time about the issues, like in our guide, we talk about job shadowing. We talk about in NUS, which is the National Union of Students in the UK, they've got a great model where they have the mentors and the role models of, you think you want to go into this career pathway. So let's talk offline and we'll see how we can not only enhance your programs, but take what you already have that's good and get it out other places.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, great. All right.
Debra,
I know I'm like a fire hose. I'm sorry, but go ahead, ask your questions.
Would you be willing to put your email and phone number in the chat for
Sure.
those of us who couldn't copy things down fast enough?
Absolutely. And I'm glad to I know that was really fast, so I'm just glad to have a more targeted conversation with you all. And here's the phone number. This isn't going to get distributed everywhere, right? So don't be giving it out on listservs, the phone number. Okay.
Can I jump in and just thank you for the presentation, Debra, and all the links, because I've also been like writing them down, and I didn't realize we had quite a few overlap there. I mean, if you would be interested, I would just go ahead and throw in some links in the chat for the HESI group and also the events we had during the high-level political forum in July. So if you're not completely fed up with webinars and online virtual events, the recordings and the discussions we had were quite interesting. And the idea is really to bring higher education and this government level of the UN closer together. And it's also, you see the student side, you have the professors, but then you have UN environment and all these big organizations. So we're trying really to make a connection there. And I think that's also what this document with the green jobs aims at, to really give some practical advice also. So I'm just gonna send some links just to add to that. But
Yeah.
thanks again, it's really interesting.
So Isabel, so the links she's putting in the chat aren't for me, okay? I was at a lot of those events, and I'm in the record. It's for the rest of you to see more about what's going on. And then Isabel, we need to talk, and I'll follow up with you about once the global guidance document is done, how do we get it out to the higher ed institutions in a way so that they'll use it? And there's some nuanced insights around that, right? Because two-year schools, the TED schools, the community colleges, they care about workforce development. The number of the four-year schools don't see that as their role, but yet they have career offices that don't have this information, and the students are hungry for this information. So I'll be getting back to you on that, and thanks for all
Yeah.
that.
And the problem is to get in touch with the right people at the institution, because they're receiving so much information, and the people we want to reach are not necessarily the leadership or the people getting the communication, or the other way around. So yeah, happy to catch up there.
Yeah, great. I'll look forward to that.
Deborah, let me ask you a quick question, because we're coming close to the end of the time. One of the things that as I've been doing this for quite some time, I'm starting to get quite impatient, given where we are in the climate system and the biodiversity loss, and they keep on going, right? We need to move much faster. And transformations need to happen much faster than a lot of our transformations of education systems will allow. And so one of the ones that I've been looking at is bypassing the education system and going directly to the students, and activating the students as a pressure. Unfortunately, it's going to be bad for the teachers because they're going to get squeezed. The systems above are pushing down and the students are going to be pushing up, and that the creamy filling is going to get very thin. But that's just the reality of where we are. So do you have, I mean, your work on the Beyond, the chamber work is an example of where students are really just directly engaging, and there are systems of education that are supporting them. Do you concur that that's kind of where we are in this work? Not saying stop the other stuff, because that's just where we're going to go, because we need that sustained support for them. But at the same time, our students are not well served right now. And how do we do that better at scale?
Right. I absolutely agree with you. I think that any kind of slow change, this is what Gabe says, who's on the core team. He says, winning slowly is the same as losing now. So, and that's what he says to the executives at these corporations. You're not moving fast enough. So there is a group out of the UK called Teach the Future. And what they're doing is demanding that education change what they're teaching.
Yeah.
Great
They're very
stuff.
good.
They're in the UK, Scotland, and Ireland. And I reached out to them and said, UNEP wants you to go international. So they're mocking up their international pages, and we expect to launch that internationally, where all of the youth will be empowered. But I gotta tell you something, the youth know, they know
Right.
what's going on. So I'm not even as concerned about what are you learning in class. I'm concerned about, they've got to turn to the adults and say, adults, stop acting like children. Stop eating your cookies before you get the basic healthy diet going. We need a healthy planet, and you're ruining it, and we see it, and you've got to change, and here's the ways you have to change. I think it's brilliant, which is why I really want you to get involved with Change the Chamber, because it's such a major roadblock. Yeah, Reverend.
Yeah, just two thoughts. I had a career in organizational development before I became a minister. But after I became a minister, I really needed some training in community organizing, because the two are not the same. And there's several national organizations, including the Industrial Areas Foundation and others, that provide that kind of training for free, and might address the question that was brought up earlier about how do we get the skills to young people in order for them to be effective in what they're trying to achieve. So
I will take any resources that you have on that. I know the Highlander group too is been doing training in community organizing for a long time. I'm actually a 4th generation activist in academic clothing. So I started in community organizing and value it.
Debra, if I may, for Frank and others, I hope the photo that I have up on my screen is an inspiration to us on this. That was taken just a year ago, minus 4 days, or plus 4 days from now. That is thousands of university, high school, and middle school students. All the middle school students are speaking at Cal. That went on last year all across the world. And it's important, I think, for those of us who are working in education to engage with them because it was very friendly to educators. And it's about to happen again and again on September 25th, probably more online. But I mean, just for Frank, I mean, you have worked so hard and done such great work. We want to know, we want you to know that there are places where it's happening, and we want to.
Yeah.
Engage.
And may I say that protests aren't enough anymore. We've been protesting for years. So what we need are, and this is societal change. You do a formal power analysis and informal power analysis. You look at the leverage points for systemic change. You create the coalition of stakeholders, and then you have them use that leverage point for systemic change. We did all of that when we designed Change the Chamber and Teach the Future. And so I think we're at leverage points, but those aren't the only ones. We also want to help empower you with your leverage points. Thank you so much for giving me the time to share this today, and I look forward to working with you. I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Debra.
We have a storm today from 1 to 3, by the way, so look up Lobby for Climate hashtags, and you'll see the work they're doing.
Thanks so much. And please, also regarding the storm, please feel encouraged to use ECOS channels to amplify that and to get support. I've put some of these in the chat box. Our Facebook group, it has a couple of hundreds of engaged people, especially from North America. So please feel free. The WhatsApp is a bit more dynamic, and try to get our members on board for these activities because they are incredibly relevant.
Great, I'm copying them right now. Thank you. I think I got to copy this whole chat file.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Debra, could you also share this list of links you had in your PowerPoint?
Yeah, why don't I do that right before we go? I can pull that right now.
You can also send it in our email conversation, and I can make sure we put it on the ECOS channels.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, that might be easier just to get the PowerPoint out and shared.
Okay, and Victor, I sent you the PowerPoint yesterday.
All right, that's the one I will use then.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Also, for those of you who joined and fed your valuable inputs, please stay with us for the next ones to come, and let's get this thing, continue this thing, and get to that change.
And I will send a link to the recording to Mark.
Thank you.
Yes, please, Earl. That would be great. All right, great. Thank you for all of you. Have a good day, have a good evening, depending on your time zones, and see you next Wednesday at 3 p.m. UTC, 5 p.m. CET. Keep it up. Bye.
Frank, I'm going to look for that list of organizations. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.